Hi, I'm Randy Alvarez. Welcome to the latest edition of the Wellness Hour. We're doing a Wellness Hour live today, and today we're talking about a hot topic about Ozempic, Wegovy, these other drugs that are causing rapid weight loss. And in the headlines, everyone, not everyone, but the doctors that I'm reading, the doctors even that I talk to, they're saying, but Randy, the reason you don't want to do it is because 50%, they're throwing around these what I think are exaggerated numbers, like 50% of it is going to be muscle loss. And you're a guy, and I'll give you a little bit of an intro, and we'll talk a little bit about the kind of medical doctor you are, but you're a person that's packed with muscle. In fact, we're going to share some of the photos. I asked you for some photos. You sent me some photos. You are literally a kind of a buff guy with a ton of muscle. So let's start there. What are your thoughts about this when you hear and you read that you're going to lose muscle on Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy?
Okay, so I want to talk about this from a couple of different viewpoints and perspectives, right? So at the outset, number one, right? If you're going to lose 100 pounds, if you're 100 pounds overweight or 50 pounds overweight or something like that, and you're going to lose those 100 pounds or 50 pounds, you are going to lose some muscle. I mean, there is absolutely no way that you can have large weight loss without losing muscle. And the 50% is probably a little exaggerated, but it could be up to 30% muscle loss, right? Now, what you have to decide first and foremost is whether that weight loss, the benefits of the weight loss justify some muscle loss, right? Because even if you lose some muscle, the benefits of losing all that fat and losing weight are tremendous, right? I mean, you're talking about basically changing your life. You're talking about tremendous cardiovascular benefits, glucose metabolism, bone density. I mean, dementia, Alzheimer's. There are so many benefits to losing weight. I mean, I can't even begin to. We would have to have our conversation about that, right? So, okay. Are the benefits of losing weight outweighing the risk of losing some muscle? Absolutely, categorically, yes, right? So that's number one, right? So just to get that out of the way. Secondly, I firmly believe that the muscle loss that people talk about can be mitigated with certain strategies, right? And we can get into what strategies to use when you're on these drugs, but with the proper medical advice and the proper strategies, you can definitely maintain muscle. Moreover,
may I ask you a question? Because I've seen the way you look.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of muscle, right? Are you saying that, did you already have that muscle, then you started taking Mounjaro?
Yeah.
Or did you take Mounjaro and have you been able to gain 5 pounds of muscle?
I actually built muscle on Mounjaro, and which is what my next point was. I actually put on about 20 pounds of muscle while I was taking Mounjaro, close to the maximum dose. Okay. So this is the other point that I was trying to make, and I saw this recently. I was reading through some literature just yesterday, and I saw this thing that really basically justified my thinking, right? Which is, this is an article about insulin sensitivity, right? So, this article is titled, "Can Insulin Sensitivity Preserve the Muscle During Weight Loss?" Right? And, if you think about, bodybuilders, one of the medications that the bodybuilders use is insulin, right? Because insulin basically drives, carbohydrates into muscle, and you can build muscle a lot more easily if you inject insulin, especially after a workout, right? So muscle insulin sensitivity is absolutely important to building muscle. And if you think about what these GLP-1 receptor agonists do, they increase insulin sensitivity, right? So in my opinion, I know that I might not be mainstream here, but in my opinion, the GLP-1 receptor agonists, if used appropriately, are muscle building drugs, not muscle losing drugs, right?
Really?
Because they because of the way they preserve and increase insulin sensitivity to muscle allows people to build muscle. I think I managed to do that on my own, and seeing this article about insulin sensitivity was in a way, I mean, it just gave me so much hope that people are beginning to understand what these drugs do and what building muscle and losing muscle actually means.
Help me understand this. Okay, so there's lots of talk and lots of the new medical doctors that are out there that are in good shape. There's skinny medical
Yeah,
doctors, doctors that you'll never see them without a shirt. And then there's medical doctors that are in great shape that are into longevity medicine and things like
yeah,
that. And this movement of maintaining skeletal muscle.
right.
And there are people that say if a woman weighs 135 pounds, she should probably have about 135 grams of protein per day.
Hmm.
If a man weighs 200 pounds, he should have 200 pounds of protein a day. And then I think you're the one that said that maybe you could eat protein based on your goals.
Yeah.
So if I want to be 10 more pounds that I am now of muscle, I would be eating my weight plus 10 pounds in grams of protein.
Absolutely. So you want to eat as much protein as the weight that you're trying to achieve, right? And a little bit earlier I was talking about mitigating muscle loss, and strategies to mitigate muscle loss. And one of the strategies, a very important strategy, is what you eat, nutrition, right? Nutrition is super important, obviously, when you're trying to build muscle. And within the nutrition category, enough protein is absolutely necessary. And for carb haters like you, okay, enough
Well, I'm more of a carb phobic. I'm afraid of
carb
carbs,
phobic.
but I'm getting less and less afraid of
For carb
carbs because of
phobics
you.
like
Thank you.
you, I think you have to eat carbohydrates, because the carbohydrates, just like I was talking earlier, can turn into muscle, with enough insulin sensitivity, right? So nutrition is definitely one of the strategies where you can mitigate with muscle loss when you're on GLP-1s. The other one is some sort of an anabolic input, right? So a lot of the people that I treat are men and women, postmenopausal women, or men in their 50s or older, right? So putting these people, I mean, adjusting these people's hormones, right, testosterone, estrogen, etc., is fundamental for them not losing muscle. So giving men and women enough testosterone while they're trying to lose weight is another very super important strategy to mitigate muscle loss. And the third one is working out, the way you work out. A lot of people who are on these drugs, they're these chronic cardio people, who go on, they go for runs every day and whatnot. They're never going to build muscle, whether they're on these drugs or not, right? So if you want to build muscle, you have to move some weight. I mean, this is just as simple as that.
Okay.
Strength training is you cannot build muscle without strength training. So nutrition, proper nutrition, an anabolic input if that's appropriate for your age, right? So testosterone
When you
replacement,
say anabolic input, you're talking about
testosterone.
maybe supplementing with
Yes,
testosterone. Okay.
absolutely. And then a proper workout regimen. I mean, a proper workout regimen of lifting weights or resistance training that you continue to improve on, so this gradual improvement in how much weight you're moving, right? So if you don't do these things, of course you're going to lose muscle. But in my patient population, if I get them to do all these stuff, they actually build muscle. They never lose muscle.
So when you read articles, because there's a lot of articles about this,
Yeah,
that you're going to lose muscle. And in fact, it almost, when I read some of these articles, almost as if there's something in the GLP-1 in these medications that actually interfere with, I guess, your ability to even grow muscle.
On the contrary, I just
Is
explained to you.
okay. Yeah. So, but that's what I'm reading. Are you reading the same thing, or am I just
you know,
getting a different
I mean,
understanding?
of
Or
course, I'm reading the same thing, and like it. Number one, you have to make the distinction between what you read in the press, in the lay press, and what it's actually in the scientific press, right? And I think that the scientific press has pretty much caught up with this, and you're not. I'm definitely not reading in the scientific press, a lot of these, let's call them clickbait, articles, right? Ever since these drugs came around and became successful, almost daily there's something in the press telling everybody to be very, very afraid of taking them. Either your stomach is going to be paralyzed, or you're going to lose muscle, or somehow you're just going to be you're going to have the Ozempic face, or what all this stuff that's out there all the time, which is nobody seems to be talking in the lay press about the amazing potential that these drugs have in helping people lose weight. Obesity is, I don't know, is obesity the number one health problem in the United States? It could be argued, right? So if we solve
yeah.
obesity, we solve an amazing array of other health problems that go with obesity. So
Now I should tell you, because I'm so interested in this topic, that I would say that 9 out of 10 articles, 9 of them are all positive
good. I'm
about
glad to hear
Ozempic.
that.
It's only but I wanted to bring you on because the only articles that seem to frustrate me
Yeah.
is the ones where it talks about sarcopenia. You're going to lose all of this muscle.
Yeah.
I have a educated medical doctor that I talk to, and he says, Randy, don't do it. You're going to lose muscle. And I go, but Dr. D is thick. He's buff. He's looking good,
Yeah.
and he's taking a high dose of it.
Yeah.
And he's proof that you could have muscle.
Right.
So look, most people want to know, what do I have to do? So let me get this clear.
Right.
Because I asked you this on the phone.
Yes.
So if you could drink your protein, so let's say a protein isolate, I guess, which is proven to be the most absorbable.
Yeah.
Okay. So 100 grams maybe or more of drinking your protein.
Yes.
I do mine in water. And then maybe a couple of chicken breasts a day, or fish, or whatever, some sort of a lean fish. It'll get you up to that 150, 160 grams of protein. But what about drinking like 150 grams of protein a day and having your chicken breast or
I
whatever?
mean, you can drink as much as your stomach, will allow you to. I mean, I don't have personally any problem drinking the protein. The reason that I emphasize drinking the protein is because usually when you're on these drugs, you cannot eat a lot of solid food. Your stomach emptying time increases, right? So you have this sensation of fullness. The way to cheat that, if you want to eat some protein, is to drink it, right? And this is why I'm a big advocate for all these protein powders. And you can use whatever protein powder agrees with your system. Some people like whey, some people like pea protein, some people like collagen, whatever it is that you like, right? But drinking it offers you a way to bypass that sensation of fullness, that Ozempic or Mounjaro gives you, and still get the protein intake that you need.
Okay, but as a rule of thumb with your own patients, do you say eat about a gram of protein
per pound body weight?
Per pound of body weight.
Yes.
So like a 5-ounce chicken breast has around a little under 30 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if you're almost have to supplement with a protein powder to try to keep your protein that high.
Exactly right. I think it's essential that you have to supplement. I don't think that you can possibly eat enough meat in any form to get to 200 grams of protein a day, especially when you're on these drugs, right? Because you're going to be full. You're not going to be able to eat that much. So the one mitigating strategy for that is to drink the protein.
Okay, so you do that. And look, here's an article that I pulled up right before we came on. Could drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy help people live longer? Some experts see them as potential longevity pills or longevity shots.
Absolutely. I mean, this is obviously a little different topic, but
yeah,
why do you live longer? Well, you live longer because by losing weight, you're not exposing yourself to all the diseases of obesity, right? So you're going to have now, these drugs are probably going in time to be, first line cardiovascular drugs because of their cardiovascular benefits, right? So what is the number one killer of people? Cardiovascular disease, right? You decrease cardiovascular disease, you achieve longevity. Glucose metabolism, diabetes, and all the associated problems with diabetes, right? Another big, morbidity, another big, reason for people not having longevity. Dementia, Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's is also, it's the moniker for Alzheimer's diabetes type 3, right? So the glucose metabolism is absolutely essential in the pathophysiology of Alzheimer's disease. So you decrease you regulate your glucose metabolism, maybe you'll have less Alzheimer's, less dementia. The Alzheimer's and dementia are the fourth killer of people in the United States, right? So of course they're longevity drugs, because they basically decrease the rate of obesity associated problems.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this about the law. Are you taking, because you're fit, you're lean,
Yeah.
I mean, you look for sure under 10% body fat. Would you say that you're doing it for the longevity reasons? Because you're not doing it for weight loss.
Yeah, I'm doing it to look good.
Are you doing it just to
No,
look good?
no, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm doing for longevity reasons, and
Okay.
honestly, I feel great. Like
Yeah.
I like the way it makes me feel. It's probably as selfish or as simple as that. Obviously the longevity plays a role. I can be worrying, what's going to happen in 20 years or 30 years from now. I don't like, I'm too busy worrying about today. But certainly
Okay.
longevity is in the back of my mind. And you were talking earlier, you were asking me, hey, how do you do it, right? And full disclosure here, yes, of course, the nutrition is part of it, but I'm also at 54 years old. I'm on testosterone replacement therapy, so I have enough anabolic input from the testosterone so I can build the muscle. And I'm also in the gym at least 4 times a week, lifting heavy weights. So, I practice what I preach, and I know it works because I see myself, right?
So the only downfall, I'm going to ask you your opinion. So you take somebody that's a really bad eater, processed foods, fast foods here and there. You put them on Mounjaro, you put them on Wegovy, you put them on one of these drugs. Now they're just eating less of the bad food.
Mhm.
They're still losing weight.
Yes.
Okay. And then if they go off of it with these bad habits, they're going to blow up again.
Yes.
So do you say, hey, take advantage of the fact that you have less cravings and now eat lean proteins, vegetables, maybe some white rice,
Yeah.
sweet potatoes, things like that,
I mean, look,
and good oils,
I've
good
been
fats?
I've been in practice for what 17, 18 years now. For the first 10, 12 years of my practice, I would talk to everybody and tell them to diet and exercise, right? You all heard that from your doctors, diet and exercise. And nobody would follow my advice. Nobody would just go on a diet. Nobody would exercise, right? So when these drugs came about, it was mind blowing to me, because what these drugs do is they should be associated with a change in lifestyle, which is what you're talking about, right? So this is a gateway for most people to change their lifestyle. It's that kick in the ass that people need, to just say, okay, now I'm gonna eat. Now that I've lost the weight, I'm gonna eat right. I'm gonna hit the gym. I'm just gonna do the stuff that I need to do, because they see the results. The weight loss is happening relatively fast, and they see the results. And when you start seeing those results, well, it's a virtuous cycle from then on. For most people. Now, it's not for everybody. Obviously, some people just fall back onto their old habits and they gain their weight back. And oil.
One of your patients, I want to tell this testimonial, is my nephew. My nephew is in his early 40s. He's about 5'10", and he weighed 277 pounds. He started taking Mounjaro, which is, one of the brands.
Yeah.
Took Mounjaro. He is now at 212 pounds as of last week, but he is eating like a fanatic, meaning he's eating clean protein, he's eating low glycemic vegetables,
Yeah.
and he's taking supplements, he's getting his sleep,
Yeah.
he is only eating good oils, and his plan is probably, is going to be looking at the body fat. But so if he keeps his protein up,
Yeah.
based on his body fat, so if he weighs 212 right now, if he keeps it at 212 grams of protein per day,
Yes.
drinking some of it and eating some of it, then and he says he feels better. His brain is working better. He has more ambition.
Right.
And you know what his friends tell him at work? They say, and people have told me this over the years, but you got to live a little. What's life all about if you can't have, a donut, or if you can't have this, or you can't have that?
Yeah.
He goes, I have no desire for this stuff anymore. Right.
You know what? I'm going to live a lot longer than you do. So it's look, you don't need the donut, right? You feel great. You have other satisfaction right now. It's everything else, and what's interesting about these drugs also is that, I don't know, you probably know this, but in terms of reducing cravings and stuff, we've used some of these drugs for alcoholics, for people who are addicted to drugs and stuff, and they seem to be, again, not in everybody, but they seem to be working for these things, right? So
with alcohol, by the way, because I was reading, because I guess there's difference between Mounjaro and Ozempic.
Yes.
Does one work better for alcohol than others? And my next question is it a higher dose for the alcohol craving?
I don't know that I know the answer to that question, but in principle, these drugs are qualified as the Ozempic, which was the first one on the market. It just acts on one particular receptor, right? One particular this GLP-1 receptor. Mounjaro is a drug that has a dual action, so it acts on two receptors. And now the newer drugs that are actually coming, they're actually being studied right now, and we're probably, I don't know, maybe less than a year away from them have a triple action, right? So, I don't know exactly which one works better for alcohol, or which dose works better for alcohol, alcohol addiction. I don't know that information, but it is, theoretically speaking, the more receptors, these drugs work on, the better their efficacy. I can tell you right now that in my practice, I don't use Ozempic anymore. I find that Mounjaro is so much better in terms of side effect profile and also weight loss profile, and that was in their studies too. And these new drugs that are coming out are even better than Mounjaro, right? So it's exciting. I'm excited. I mean, I've never had as much fun, practicing medicine. I do like spine injections. I do stem cells and spine injections, want that. And another very interesting thing about that, something that I read recently is that obese people, have more pain or perceive more pain, which is something that I've always thought about, in my practice.
Because you're an interventional pain management physician.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that correct?
So I was seeing these people with chronic pain, and I always felt the obese and overweight people, had more sensitivity to pain, and that was just proven in a research. And I'm like, wow.
Oh, really?
All this experience, anecdotal experience that I base my practice on, now it's all proven, right? The insulin sensitivity, the pain, the obesity and pain correlation, and all this. So it's exciting. I mean, to me, I love these drugs. Yeah, they're not for everybody, but a lot of people benefit from them.
Okay, Dr. D, thank you, by the way, for this information.
Sure.
If somebody wants to become your patient, like my nephew,
Right.
I guess you do a telemedicine, get some blood work, or if they've had recent blood work,
Yeah.
and it seems to be a lot less than it is here in California to get this.
Yeah.
So they can contact your office
Absolutely.
and kind of get started if they want.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Dean. We're going to have you back to talk about what we need to know as men and women as far as testosterone.
Thank you,
So
Randy.
thanks again.
Thank you.